Yeah. So our speaker today is someone who's been a longtime member of our community and who we love and whose messages we enjoy and who's been through some stuff lately, as I think most of you know. So she's going to share about that. It's Reverend Joyce Zorger.
Okay, so I'm here. And thank you for that song. Whatever the question, love is the answer. That's why I like to live my days by. And my days have been, and the song about, oh, I send my love over the mountain, how perfect this song was, because I live out on High Mountain Road, and there was a big high mountain behind my home. And with this devastating and torrential rain that we've had, every day and nighttime too, it was slamming that mountain, and the sand and the mud and the rocks and the trees came down, and it was a scary thing. I had to really uh, put this a sense of around me of protection, and just know that my animals and my dogs and myself, I'm protected. I wrote a lot about this. I wanted to share a lot with you. I like the word. I put the word on my talk here, breathe, because this is God in me, and I bow to it. So I got to remember that was something that when I was going through all this stress and upheaval in my life, I had to stop and take that deep breath, and that brought the peace. A peace of mind is sometimes hard to find in situations like I was dealing with. And John and I moved to Feather Ranch in 1997, and we had a year, that winter, we had 52 inches of rain that winter. And it was amazing. I mean, we came from Costa Mesa, Orange County. I lived in the same home for almost 40 years, and moved to Feather Ranch. And this rain that we were having, I thought, my God, what did we move to? You know, it wasn't like that in Costa Mesa, but it was spread out over a long period of time. This rain was uh, was something I have never in my lifetime experienced, and many of you know friends or maybe have been involved in a devastating situation. But for me, to I was I had a neighbor that called me early on the 9th of January, and she says, Joyce, do you want me to send my husband over with his tractor? And I said, yes. I mean, because what was happening is that nothing was stopping the water and the mud and the sand from filling my yard. And he came over and he worked in the rain. And my Shayna, my granddaughter, lives on a ranch up the road, and her friend came over with his tractor. They were digging these trenches behind the property, and as soon as they got them dug, they filled with sand immediately. So much so that one of the tractors filled with sand up to the seat of the tractor. He could not get his tractor out, and he had to leave it there overnight. And the next day, another neighbor came over with a bigger machine and pulled it out with chains and so on. But it was like it was. I'm grateful for my neighbors. I mean, we look after each other. We called each other to see, like, it was kind of like a triage situation. And in the late afternoon, when it was Monday afternoon, and I was seeing the water, even though I put dog beds, I put mats, I put rugs, I put pillows, I put everything I could find to block the water from coming in. I have 5 doors that go out to the backyard. I have the dining room door, I have a kitchen door, I have a laundry room door, I have the garage door, and then the garage door that goes out into the backyard. All those, except for the garage door going out to the backyard, that door I had to open and let the water flow through to relieve all the water that was collecting. The water was so deep in my backyard that my dog's igloos were floating around in the water, and their beds, thick beds that I have on their back porch for them. I'm so good to my animals. They have these wonderful beds, but they're all devastated now. But they were floating out there, and my dogs I had in the house. And when I started putting them down to bed that afternoon, and they have their dog beds in the laundry room, And I started seeing the water coming in. And that is such a scary sight when you see your home being invaded by this muddy water just creeping in, no matter what I did to keep it out, no matter what the guys did to build a trench to keep the water for it to divert the water. It didn't seem to help at all. And so my family said, Mom, you've got to evacuate. You know, you don't know if that mountain's going to come down on you. And it felt like all this area. At one time, I've shared it with some of the people that have been out there. This area was underwater. It was the ocean floor 32 million years ago. And I have fossil shells. I have sand dollars. I have the most interesting things all over the property. And now more and more are being revealed. But I had this feeling that the area wanted to go back to the ocean floor again. I really did. I thought, well, and hey, where am I gonna be? Anyway, where I was, I packed a little bag. I got my dogs. I got their dog food. I got in my car. Had to put the seats down so they could be because they're not used to riding in the car, and they're just all nervous about all the stuff that's happening. Took them up to the road and spent the night there. But came back in the daytime to see in the morning to take care of my horses and the cats. And they were fine. The water did go into the barn, and it filled up the barn with muddy water. My granddaughter said, Grandma, don't go to the barn to feed the horses. I will come each morning to feed them, because when you step in that sand, and I did that on Monday morning, I was coming back from the barn from feeding, and I had high Ariat boots on. I stepped in the sand, and it came right up to my knees. It was like quicksand, and it was amazing. And Lucy, my little girl dog, Toby and Lucy she was with me, and she was so upset with this water coming down from the mountain, and she was barking at it like she was going to stop it from coming. But she knew something was wrong. She knew, and animals have that wonderful instinct, and I just treasure the smarts of our animals. They are amazing. But during the night, my granddaughter and her friend came, and they swoughed out the water. There was, like I said, 3 to 4 inches of water that covered the whole bottom floor. So you can just imagine what my life has been like these days. So I tried to keep smiling and just move through, and people have been bringing me food. That big box of candy in there was one of the things they brought me, and I'm thinking, I don't need too much sugar right now. Anyway, but I share it with you because you're a lot more than one person. But I had this beautiful talk all right now. What I did, one of my girlfriends mailed me this sweet little journal, and it says, wherever you go, go with all your heart. And it has an arrow, and it has a heart in the middle of the arrow. And so I've been writing. She said, keep a journal of your experiences, and I have done that. So what I did was copied what I wrote to tell you, and probably some of this will be duplication, but I'm going to read it anyway. Okay, so bear with me while I take a little drink of water. Okay, the topic of my talk, hope. The theme for February is hope, right? This is the theme. So my thoughts were hope and restoration, because the restoration, I mean, we all go through times of restoration, and this is a time of change. And I've been reading also a book about change, because I find myself, I'm not really good with dealing with change, but this is my challenge these days. I'm learning how to deal with change in every part of my life right now. John passed away last year. I'm dealing with the grief of that still. But I'm so grateful that he didn't have to deal with all of this, because, and me having to care for him with his Alzheimer's and all the care that he needed. I don't think that would have been even a greater challenge. So I bless him wherever he is, and seeing all of this and knowing that I'm strong enough to move through it, and I'm going to do what I need to do for the restoration and restoration of myself as well. I am being so conscientious about eating well. Okay, I still, throughout all of this, I get up at 5:30. I do my yoga because that exercise is so important for us, especially as we're getting older. I want to stay flexible. I want to be able to walk through the mud and the sand and the water and take care of my animals and love nature, even though it really it loves me too, because a tree, I have trees all up that hill and none of them came down and smashed into the house. And what saved the more mud coming through the window was the little delicate little PVC fencing in the back of the property. I put hardware cloth all around it to keep Lucy from squeezing through the pickets. And what happened is that the sand, that hardware cloth kept that sand. That sand is that high. You'll see it in some of the photographs that one of my girlfriends took when she came over to visit, because I wanted to. Well, I'm jumping ahead. There was something I was leading to. Uh, anyway, it's okay. But anyway, I wanted to read about the hope and restoration. It's this is what I wrote. My hope is that I am able to be there. I was so worried that I wouldn't be able to be here today. I didn't know if I would be able to, if I was expecting too much of myself to try to put a talk together with all the other stuff I had to do. And I thought, this is for me too. I'm doing this for me, because whenever I do talk, it lifts me up and it gives me a reminder of how important faith is, and how important taking care of ourselves. The yoga every morning for half an hour, regardless. I didn't come down, I just did that to keep myself strong. And coming down and then doing my spiritual practice, that is so important. No matter, I had so much to deal with, but that was primary, because I wouldn't be here this morning if it wasn't for my spiritual practice that kept me going through this and will continue to keep me going through this. I am so grateful. And gratitude, I read somewhere that happiness doesn't give you joy, it's gratitude that gives us joy. Gratitude, when we're grateful for the things, for the neighbors and for the friends that brought me food. I'm still eating the food that they brought me. I'm so grateful. And except for the candy, you guys can have that. I'm sharing that with you. But they are, and they call me. I'm looking at my hair. I haven't even had time to get a haircut. See my mirror. I did try to every morning put my makeup on. Believe it or not, I must be very narcissistic. I don't know, but I did. Because I wanted to be able to look in a mirror and not get scared. Because yeah. Because I have the bags under my eyes. I wake up in the middle of the night and think about all the things I need to be doing, and then I get up so early and do all these things. But I have oranges. I bought a big bag of navel oranges, and I have an orange every morning because vitamin C helps our immune system. I take my vitamins. I'm really being a good girl. John should be very proud of me. I am. I am so grateful for my people here, the love I feel and the support that I've gotten, and reminders that, Joyce, if you need anything, let us know. But I did have some friends came out and they filled sandbags, 6 sandbags high. The mud came to the very top of it and kept it from going into my dining room, but it didn't keep the water out. It came through. But you'll see that in one of the films too. I have to watch my time here, but anyway, okay, so maybe I can skip some of this because I shared it uh, just because without reading it. But I think I said everything I need to say. But okay, this is what my last page is restoration has been on my mind. Will Feather Ranch ever, I don't want to start to cry. Will Feather Ranch ever be the same again? Will I feel peace with the rains, when the rains come again? During the night, last night, it was raining, and the ground is so saturated with water, nothing holds, it just floods. And we had to build a trench again one of my daughters was there and she dug a trench to keep the water from going into the garage again. Everything needs to be cleared out of the garage. It's just mud, just thick mud in the garage. And I need to get that taken care of. But first things first, I think I make a lot of lists, and this is good too. So, it says, I turn to my faith and continue with my spiritual practice each morning and throughout my days. Remember when I experienced overload, I sit, stay, pray, and everything will be okay. I shared that with you with my dogs a long time ago. And speaking of my dogs, last Sunday night, the weather was cold, rainy, and wet and foggy. Okay. My daughter was with me. We were watching a good movie, and 8 o'clock, she hears a noise out on the porch. She goes to the front door, opens it, forgets the dogs. When they hear a noise, they're right there. She opened the door to see what was out there. The dogs went screaming out and were gone from 8 o'clock at night till 5 o'clock in the morning. And my babies, my children, and I was so worried. Carrie and I stayed up all night long waiting for them to come home. They finally did. They were hurting and they were so sore. And I'm amazed that they found their way home with all of the transformation of the properties. They found their way home. They're hounds. They have a good, strong sense of smell. Blue tick hound, German short hair pointer, and they managed to make it home. First came Lucy because she's the strongest one of the two, and then poor Toby came wandering up, and he's still recovering. But Lucy smelled of skunk. She was skunked right in her face. Her eyes were all. So I've been dealing with not only a devastation, but a horrible smell in my house. And it's not the mold, it's the skunk smell of Lucy. So, yeah, so yeah, anyway. So let's see, I was going to say, okay, I want to say how much I appreciate the prayers I've been receiving. Somebody said, I sent out photographs, and somebody said, you have a lot of friends. That was only people have been calling me, and I appreciate their concern. And one day there was no calls, and I thought, what happened? There's no one calling. I picked up my phone and it's not working. I call AT&T, and of course, if anyone deals with AT&T, you know that it's not an easy thing to do, and I was close to losing it then. But she said it won't be repaired until February 16th. So I'm at a phone service on top of everything, but I have my little cell phone, and thank goodness I have that. But so, challenges. I'm up to the challenge. I can deal with this. I'm just telling myself I'll deal with this, move forward with this. So, yeah, I appreciate the prayers and offers to help I received. Unfortunately, my homeowners insurance, they don't cover floods. Of course they don't. I don't live by a big lake, except for Lopez Lake, which is way the heck out there. But no streams or anything like that, or I can't even think. Rivers, thank you. That's another thing. When you're under a lot of stress, don't worry if it's your age. It's not my age. It's because they're dealing with the stress. And so you got take a deep breath. I love that. Breathe. This is what I said, the very first sentence here. Breathe. This is God in you. Bow to it. Breathe. This is God in me. Bow to it. It is who I am. I am that expression of the one life that is God, and remind myself of that. So in closing, I want to say too that my daughter. Why is that little noise coming? Is that this me? Is it little squeaky noises? Oh, I'm hitting this. Okay. Thank you, Chris. Chris is giving me motion. I'm hitting this. Okay. So I started to say I appreciate all the people that have reached out to me. I was able. One of them said, "Well, contact FEMA," and I did. And I spent an hour and a half on the phone going through with FEMA, and I got some assistance with them. My daughter said, a number of people said, do a GoFundMe. And so my daughter did that. She took care of that and put that out there, and I've gotten some help. My plan with the GoFundMe is to build a retaining wall. My little PVC fencing isn't going to do much to hold back that mountain. A retaining wall will help, I think. And that's, I was going through files, and there was a file folder that said retaining wall from years and years ago, but I seem to always get what I need these days, and I am so grateful. Thank you, God, for taking care of me during this time and giving me the. I pray for that resilience and for the strength to move through. Okay, so in closing, I read this and I love this. It's a Karen Drucker song, and I talked to Martha Alvarez the other day, and I told her this because we were talking about how, because we're the same age, I think maybe a year apart, But I reminded her of a Karen Drucker song. I will only go as fast as the slowest part of me feels safe to go. I will only go as fast as the slowest part of me feels safe to go. And when I'm walking in total chaos, I am always thinking of that. I can't move too fast. There's stuff everywhere, and I have to stand on my feet. I have to move through it. I can't deal with that unless I can call somebody to come out there and take over what I'm doing. But I know I will only go as fast as the slowest part of me feels safe to go. So I'm remembering that. And there's an also, if any one of you heard from Oriah Mountain Dreamer, are you familiar with her? She has a wonderful book that I found. I'm finding all these little jewels in my home that I've stored away. I have to pack everything. And this is what she said: it doesn't interest me when or with whom you have studied. I want to know what sustains you from the inside when all else falls away. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that a good message to hold on to? What sustains you from the inside? And I'm here to tell you that what sustains me is my faith. It is my faith and my hope for restoration. And that is my message this morning. But before you clap and accolades and all of that, I want to be able to take any questions that you might have. I have 10 photographs that Brian asked if I had any photographs to send, and I sent him 10 that a girlfriend of mine took, and Chris is going to put them on, so let you see some of the stuff that's going on out there, and then afterwards, if you have any questions, I would be happy to answer. This is the picture of right outside the dining room, and there's 3 or 4 inches of, there's lots of mud there, you see. Those are the sandbags that Shana and her friend and also another couple that I know came out and filled. And those things are heavy. And they're stacked, some of them are like 5, 6 sandbags high. That you see beyond that is the table. That's the picnic table. That's how high the mud is of the picnic table. It's covered. This is my bathroom tile, shows you that the water was 4 inches in there. And this is the devastation. There were 5 or 6 landslides mudslides on the property. It doesn't look the same. I know Joe was out there. I know that I know Nina and Jan were out there, and we walked the property. You wouldn't recognize it now. And this one is all the mud that's in the backyard. I had artificial turf put in there for the dogs on the right-hand side. It's all covered with about 2 feet of mud. You see that whole walkway, that was the porch, and that had mud on it too. This is my house. If you've seen my house inside, took out the carpeting, the padding, the baseboard, took out all the nails and stuff, and drilled holes where the baseball was. And I've had a girlfriend sent me a dehumidifier. It's been going 24/7, and I've been getting buckets of water and to keep from the mold. Okay, so I didn't look to see, what is this? Is this it? Oh, this is another picture of my, those are, you can see the left-hand side is the PVC fencing. And my dog would just climb up there and jump over. And Lucy, yeah, she figured, oh, this is nice. Yeah, I can just jump over the fence. Well, my daughter and her husband came out a week or so ago and dug a trench, heavy mud, digging that out. It was like a workforce there. And this must be the land down to the barn that I'm walking in when I go feed. And I think that, and that's the back of the home, and that's the trench that one of my neighbors dug. He spent hours digging that trench. And this is the carpeting and the padding and the baseboard on the front porch that 6 of my friends came over and moved that into dump trailers and took it to the dump. Yeah, so grateful. And that's me saying, look at this. Yeah. Yeah, and actually I'm smiling, which is amazing. But that's my front door. Anyway, thank you, Chris, for putting that together. And that's it. Thank you. Need some water. Anyway, if you have anything to ask me before I sit down and relax. Yeah.
I don't want to ask you, I just want to say you're a real
Oh,
pioneer.
I guess, yeah. I'm gonna might have to live in a covered wagon these days. Thank you, Judy. Yeah, you know, when it comes down to it, I keep telling people, you know, how do you move on? It's my faith and my family and my friends. That's what, and having fun too. But I haven't had much fun. I like to play games, and I haven't had time to do that. But I like to. Yes, Joe. Yeah, you know, everybody said, well, at least you got rid of the wild pigs. Nada. No. They're back, and hundreds of turkeys, wild turkeys, have taken over too, and they're all over the property. And I talk to them, and they answer back. So that's sometimes the only one I can have to talk to, except my dogs and my horses. So they are just, if you want a turkey, I mean, how long is that? I mean, you can have all you want. Yeah, wild turkeys and woodpeckers. I got to tell you about the woodpeckers. Are in there. They're very active right now, and they're pounding holes in the all the framing around my wood on my house. My daughter said, she said, Mom, take your iPhone and check into red-tailed hawk and get the sound of a red-tailed hawk instead of me yelling at them, trying to get them away and banging against, you know, shaking bags and stuff. I put the sound of a red-tailed hawk. Those suckers, they're out. They quit. They riot. Yeah. So I learned something. All of this I've learned. Yeah. Um, yeah, the frogs are there. I mean, my pond is full of water, and I love the sound of the frogs there. But there's a water still coming down the mountain and running into the horse pasture. I'm way over. Anyway, there's a, oh, this morning I pick up a book. This is what I read, and it's from Psalm 46, 1-2. Think about how appropriate this is. It's a book called Jesus is Calling. A friend, I wrote these words in my journal. It says, God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. Therefore, we will not fear. Through, though the earth gives way, and the mountains fall into the heart of the sea. That's so appropriate, though the earth gives way and the mountains are falling, and it seems like it wants to go back to its original place in the bottom of the ocean floor. But the one gift that it's revealing are these beautiful fossils that are the oyster shell rock. They're huge. Some of them are that big, and they're bipods, you know, they're all closed in. So my daughter said, Mom, open that up. Maybe there's a pearl inside. So anyway, that's what, there is a pearl. So there's a pearl in any experience that we have. And this is my pearl of sharing this with you. Thank you so much. God bless you. Thank you. Thank you. God bless you. Thank you.